Folks, put your hands together for our final speaker, John Lonergan.
Well, no, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be invited. When Emily rang me or emailed me and asked me would I come, I say yes every time I'm asked to do anything, because at my age it's a privilege. And as David said, it's so appropriate when he said that we'll all die, and it's inevitable. And I often say that to people. You must make the best of the time you have, and so it's a pleasure to come to Ballina. And I did actually, for the clear people, I did cross over the bridge during the... because I wanted to feel, honestly now, I wanted to go over because most people, non-hurling people, wouldn't have a clue about the depression that's in Tipperary, because we thought we were known as the premier county as far as hurling is concerned, and now we're at the very bottom. And we have to be very humble when we're at the bottom. So I wanted to walk over to see and to feel the atmosphere across the bridge, and to see what it is, and it has been. I've often said that it is amazing, like music earlier on tonight, and the last little session before the final sessions here, the way it lifts people, that's fascinating. People just get out of themselves, that they're just on a bubble, and sport is exactly the same. If you analysed it, it doesn't even make sense. 30 big adults with a piece of, timber and a little leather ball, and they're hammering it up and down the field. And if you came from Mars or somewhere and saw it, you said, these are lunatics. But it can lift people, and so it's amazing sometimes. And I did spend a lifetime in prison, 42 years, which is a hell of a long time. And I'm not going to mention any names here that I met in prison, but I'm sworn by secrecy. But seriously, I spent a lot of time there, and I spent a lot of time reflecting on what Emily is talking about. How do you connect with people who are seen as in many ways, the bad, the ugly, the violent, the rejects, and the people we don't like to be associated with? And I gave a long time reflecting on how do you connect with people like that? And how do you make a difference to people like that? And above all, in a place like a prison, the last place, the most difficult place to do that. And I did spend a lot of time. But I went back to my roots. And I was coming in here this evening at about 3:30. And by accident, I met a woman out in the foyer just as I came in. And she came up to me and she said, she introduced herself. And I hadn't met the woman for over 60, maybe 65 years. Because she used to come on holidays to a neighbour of mine who was a wonderful man. And we were then reminiscing about this man. So I went back to my roots, really. And I used to spend a lot of time with this man looking after horses, but he was a genius with horses. My father used to say, well, if Jimmy O'Haney can't deal with that horse, nobody can. But I remember what he said to me way back when I was a child. He said, he said, always be gentle and always be kind to a horse. And he said, you communicate gentleness through the reins and through your hands. And kindness is gentleness and softness as well. And horses and animals respond to kindness. And they do. And so I gave a bit of time trying to figure that out. And tonight, when Emily asked me, I said, I'm going to talk about human kindness. Because all of us can do it. It's within our grasp. And sometimes we are miserable. Honestly, and we never had as much in Ireland. And in other ways, we never had as little. Ireland is full. You know that old rubbish? I remember, I go back to my mother. We had nothing. We were poor. But nearly everybody in my locality in West Tipperary were poor as well. So we didn't stand out very much. We were all the same. But we had nothing really. But what was fascinating was that if somebody, at that time you had lots of mainly men, older men, wandering around the countryside. And they'd wander into a house. And my mother always brought them in. And she always gave them whatever she had. She hadn't much, but she gave it to them. And so hospitality and kindness and warmth. And when I went to work in prison and to try to understand and to connect with prisoners, I remember kindness. I'm an absolute fan of kindness now. And I believe there is, if kindness doesn't work with another human being, nothing works. And that's my belief. I'm going to tell you 2 little stories. Real stories now, not made up. And one has got to do with prison itself and the power and the impact of a little gesture of kindness. But before I tell you the story, I want you to participate privately now. But if I was to ask somebody or anybody here in the audience, come up for a minute, and in 1 minute, tell the audience here tonight the kindest experience I ever had in my life. The kindest experience that has stayed with me to tonight. I want you just to think for a few seconds. What would that be? What jumped into your mind? Who was it? Why do you remember it? An act of kindness, a gesture of kindness that I will always remember. And it would be very sad if there's somebody here tonight that never had that experience. But there are people out there in that mad world that have never had that experience. They could never stand up and talk about, because they were never the recipient of. And by the way, many of them are to be found in prison. You never had kindness in your life. It's very hard to give kindness. Why do you remember it? Why did it leave a mark? Now I'm going to tell you a story, because I'm certain, by the way, that the ones you'll recall most, the ones that will remain with you, are the gestures of kindness that you experienced when you were struggling. Not when you're up high. Not when things are going great, because you take it in your stride. But when you're struggling. If you were homeless, for instance. If you were if you were very ill. If you were financially broke. If you were ostracized. Then a little act of kindness. And my little story now actually links into that. It's a real little story. It's a very sad story. But real. It was in Mountjoy and on the North Circular Road, way back, by the women's prison, called the Docus Center, given its name by a prisoner who we asked her to, rather than Mountjoy, and she came up with Docus, which is hope, as you know, in Gaeilge. And so this woman was walking up and down the North Circular Road in a very distressed, very sick state, causing a bit of a public nuisance. The guards came or called and they talked to her and told her to get up, and she told them to get lost. And eventually they arrested her and took her to the Bridewell for the night court, 11 o'clock at night. So the night judge comes out. And he looks at this poor misfortune and he says, what am I going to do with her? And then he got a great idea. He said, I'm going to send her up to the Docus Center. The only place in Ireland that hadn't the right to refuse. Isn't that amazing as well? That is fantastic, by the way. I have often said that. It's fantastic that the Docus Center can't refuse. Because if we could, we would. Yes. But it's open door thing. So she came and she was very sick and not well at all. She was going through a mental breakdown. And so she got help. Medical, psychological help and care and love. That word was mentioned tonight as well. Human love. By pure coincidence, was it her 55th birthday during her short stay of 3 months in the Docus Center? Birthdays are very important. In some ways. They're not really. But for every individual, birthday it's my day. It's the day when people focus on me. And I bet from 7 in the morning, or you're looking at your phone, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, no comment from anybody, no comment. Yeah, Jesus, did they forget? By 12 o'clock, bastard. I've reared the most selfish family in Ireland. I thought that, seriously, you're hurt. Your feelings are actually hurt. And it's only a little text message. Happy birthday. It's about the memory. It's about the consideration. It's about I am important. And so I am a great old believer in celebrating. Celebrating. To celebrate somebody else makes them feel special. And so because we were promoting humanity and kindness in the Doka Centre, community based on respect and compassion and humanity, the staff and some of the women prisoners baked a cake and put icing on it. And at tea time, when they were all sitting down together in a community setting, they come with a cake and they sing happy birthday. And she breaks down. She becomes very emotional, very upset for ages. They couldn't console her. And eventually she calmed down. They said, what is that? Why are you so upset? Just listen to this. Remember, she was 55. She said, this is the saddest day of my life. I'm not well. I'm in prison. My family have all left me. I'm homeless. But you know, she said, the saddest thing of all is today is the first day in my life that I ever got a birthday cake. 55. And here we are. Hundreds of birthday cakes, hundreds of birthday cards, hundreds of it. Look at that old miserable card he's in there. I've added on to that little thing, that little story. That's what storytellers do. So I have said which is actually true. I'm convinced it's true. I've no proof, but I'm pretty sure that every birthday since 56, 57, 58, 59, she told lots and lots of people, do you know something? I got my first birthday cake when I was 55. And people who don't know her are bound to ask, what? Where did that happen? In Mountjoy. The last place in the whole world where you'd expect to get an act of kindness. But I am absolutely certain the place where you'd most appreciate it. Kindness. So tonight, I just want you to reflect on that. Think about kindness. And can I make a difference through kindness? It breaks down every barrier. It is the greatest human connection of all. It's a universal language. Every human being understands kindness. And so tonight, with some amazing contributions, and it's a beautiful atmosphere as well, that's down to you, by the way. Because sometimes you come to places, yeah, and there's no life and there's no spirit, but there's a spirit here. And that's got to do with the people, and it's got to do with the whole environment. But I'm giving you a task now. No use coming here tonight and talking about things like this and listening to the other about nature and about music and about the weather and about all the things if we don't do something, if we can, about it. And this is something you can do something about. It is to win within yourself. And so what I want you to do is, I want you to promise. Promise yourself and to us here as a community of people tonight. I'm going to promise two things tomorrow. I'm going to do something of a kind gesture to myself, for myself. Because sometimes we forget how important it is to be kind to ourselves. And some people are very kind to others, but they're very harsh on themselves. So tonight I want you, tomorrow, to do some little thing for yourself tomorrow around kindness. And the second element of it is do something around kindness for somebody else. Imagine in the locality and wherever you come from, over 100, 120 people will be doing kind gestures for other people tomorrow. It's like the music here. It's like the Crook Park for Clare. Seriously, you will lift. And the wonderful thing about kindness is if you give, you shall receive. Thanks a million.